What is up, my podcast listeners? It's your host, Rafał Matuszewski, and today we're going to talk about intensity, training, and just realistic expectations when it comes to training. And what's really interesting is I had this conversation recently with a client when they were kind of dragging their butt and ass through their workout. And they were kind of, I would say, they didn't understand why that was happening. And, they were like, I feel like I'm not pushing myself. I can't get through this thing. I have no energy. And I think this is where realistic expectations come into play. And I think a lot of general population people just assume that when you work out, it's going to be 100% every single time. They think that every time you go into the gym, you're going to like smash the weights and you're going to break things and you're going to be like grunting and pouring out buckets of sweat and you're going to have like blaring rap music and basically how it looks like on The Rock's Instagram of how he trains. But I think what people don't understand is that there's no possible way for you to have such high intensity workouts every single time you enter in the gym, because it doesn't work that way. Like, your body can't actually produce that much energy day after day after day. And if you're thinking that you're going to lift heavier every single time you go into the gym, is a little bit crazy, in the sense that your body can only produce so much juice to generate force and generate an outcome that you want when you're performing a certain exercise. So if you had to audit an entire month of training, even for myself, I would say on average, and it depends, person to person, some people just have more that they can actually push themselves through. But typically, if you take a month's worth of training, and say you train, 3 or 4 days a week, and that's weights specifically. Out of all of those workouts, there's probably going to be 2 or 3 where you feel like you are the king of the world and you can destroy anyone in front of you and you feel like a freaking gladiator stepping into the Coliseum about to kill somebody. The rest of those workouts in that month, I would say you're basically looking at 50 to 70% max effort. And then the last, 3 or 4 workouts of the month is you dragging your ass just to finish it. It feels like a grind. You don't want to be there. You're looking at the time. You're hoping that you can get away with just doing 2 sets compared to 3 or 4 that you usually do. And sometimes it's okay to come into the gym, go through your warm-up and go, you know what? I think that's enough. Because most of the time, our entire life is go, go, go. We're constantly redlining up here. We rarely have times where we feel that we can actually rest and be present in our own bodies. This idea of every workout being 100% max effort is just not realistic. So if you give yourself that grace of realizing this, training becomes a lot easier on a grand scheme of things. A lot of people have a tough time going to the gym and making that a habit. And I think they also think that every workout has to be you crying and sweating on the treadmill as you run sprints. But you can't expect that. You can't, just assume that you have this endless reserve of energy, because we don't know what you're going through. Maybe you haven't slept well in the last 3 days because your kids are sick and they're waking up throughout the night. Maybe work's been super stressful and that's all you can think about and that's keeping you up at night, or you're working longer hours, or you have to wake up earlier to get to the office earlier, or you have I don't know, a job where it's online and everything's on the East Coast and you're on the West Coast and you're dealing with time zone changes and things like that, and then you're expected to go to the gym and give yourself 100% into your workout, it's probably not realistic. The important thing, though, is to show up for yourself, not anybody else, for yourself. And I think a lot of people don't look at it this way. Going to the gym is not for anybody else. It's for yourself. It's for you to improve your health, your longevity. Like, fuck the idea of like getting lean and weight loss and like looking good. Start thinking about how you want to feel. I think a lot of people making the commitment to their health is huge. But I think most people don't have a realistic goal. And something as simple as feeling better should be the number one priority in everybody's life when it comes to fitness. Feeling good means that when you wake up in the morning, you're not getting out of bed and you feel like you're 80 years old. Feeling good is being able to bend down and pick up your kid and not worry about your back going out. Feeling good is being able to do an entire day of errands, which includes Costco and picking this thing up and dropping this thing up and picking up your kid from a sport, and then at the end of the day it's already 7 p.m. and you're making dinner and you're able to go through all that. I think feeling good is an underrated goal. I think when you make those realistic expectations, all of those aesthetic goals kind of come naturally, because a lot of times people get obsessive of how they're supposed to look or how their clothes are supposed to fit. I think once you change your mindset of I just want to feel good, all of those things just come naturally. And you can get creative with those things when it comes from an exercise standpoint. A big example for me, I would say that 90% of all my clients in person are all female, and naturally they want to lose weight, look leaner, get stronger and all that, which is great. And a lot of times I just switch the mindset goal of like, let's just get you strong. I want you to get strong. And usually I'll have a goal for them. And it's not like my personal goals being put onto them. It's more so a strength goal that will yield the results that they want without them knowing. So typically, if I can get a female client to deadlift her body weight and do a few chin-ups unassisted, they end up looking a certain way because you need a certain body type to be able to do those things. Once I changed the mindset for my female clients to think about only getting strong and being able to deadlift and do chin-ups, they are unstoppable. I think this whole idea of a number that has to be on a scale or a size in a certain clothing piece paralyzes your ability to actually succeed because it's just a number. But once you start realizing that maybe a performance goal to be able to do something with your body is so powerful and so motivating, because once you're training and say you're deadlifting and you get to your first 100-pound deadlift, you're like, oh my God, like I just broke the 100-pound mark. I can't wait to do 105, 110, 115, and just keep going. Or once you do your first body weight chin up, that is a huge moment. Huge. It becomes very motivating. And I've spoken about motivation on my podcast so many times. And the thing that people forget is that motivation is a feeling, just like being happy or sad. And if you look at an entire year, there's no physical way for you to be happy every single day. It doesn't work that way. There's ups and downs, you know what I mean? So with motivation, it's the same thing. You're going to have this huge kick of motivation, and eventually that dwindles. But you need these other things to bring you back up. and then you'll come back down. And then the thing will back up. But you have to be in the mindset constantly. And I find that, especially in fitness with general population people, if you can focus on performance goals like a certain exercise, or you being able to run your first 10-kilometer race, or whatever it is, it helps you along the way. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I also deal with a lot of injured people from a Kinstretch point of view. A lot of people dealing with an injury have a very bad perception of their progress. Most people, if you ask them, how did your shoulder that you injured feel 3 months ago? They don't know. They have no clue. All they know is that what they feel right now, or maybe yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago. But anything beyond that, they have no perception of how they felt, unless they track it. And that's another good method and metric to see if you're progressing. But I get this a lot when I'm working with someone with a current injury, and I know that they're progressing, but they feel like they hit a plateau or a stall. And really, you just have to start seeing what the person couldn't do before. If I have a person with a bad shoulder and they feel like they can't see that they're progressing, something as simple as like, hey, can you just do this for me really quick? And they go and they're like, yeah, so? I'm like, do you know that when you first started, doing this motion aggravated your shoulder so much that it was a sharp shooting pain in your entire arm? And then they go, oh yeah. And I'm like, right? Your body and your brain adapt to how you feel. So when you're dealing with an injury and you're progressing, your brain's going to adapt to the sensory information it gets. And even if you're feeling some pain, you just assume that that's the same pain that you were going through 6 months ago. But in reality, it's actually improved. I've worked with so many people where they injured their knee and they feel like they're not progressing. And then I go and ask them like, hey, remember when you couldn't walk up or down stairs with your knee? And then I go, oh yeah. And I'm like, and you can walk up and down them no problem now? They're like, yeah. Right? I think a big missing gap for people dealing with shoulder pain or any kind of injury is tracking. Get a journal and write down how you feel every single day. And you start seeing patterns, you start seeing things that clear up of how you're feeling today. And I actually had a client where they were dealing with chronic low back pain. And they kept saying like, oh my God, my back is so bad. My back is so bad. It hurts all the time. It's not getting better. So I challenged them for a month just to track their pain on a daily basis. And I told them, out of 10, just write down how you felt. 10 being, we need to go to the hospital right now, and 1 being like you're on the beach and just drinking and having a great time. So after a full month, I go, let's see this pain journal. And they brought it out, and on an average week, out of the 7 days of the week, there was 3 days where their back pain was really bad. Most of the time, out of 10, they were like a 3-4, and those really bad days was like a 6 or 7. And then when they saw that, they were like, oh, I guess my back pain isn't as bad as I thought. Because all you remember is how you're feeling today, and maybe yesterday. But I would argue that you don't have a clear perception of how that felt. So a lot of times, it's all changing your mindset of how your progress should look like, how it should feel like, and what you should actually be tracking. A lot of people end up disappointing themselves way too quickly, and then that becomes unmotivating, and then they want to quit altogether. I've seen some incredible progress with people who have been consistent at 1 day a week with me or on their own compared to people who try to do too much too fast. It's all about baby steps and building sustainable habits to make fitness part of your life. And anytime I get a new client where we go through their assessment and consultation, that's what I preach. I'm like, less is more. You don't need more to get more. Like, in training, you can only get so much out of your body, and most of us, like I said before, are way too stressed. Our nervous system's constantly redlining, and if you saw the average person that I train, you'd probably agree with me that maybe adding more stress from a training stimulus is probably not the best thing. We should probably monitor volume, which I'm a huge advocate for, because I feel like people do too much in the gym already. They feel like they need to do 20 sets of like glute raises on different machines and then go on the treadmill and then do something else and dehydrate themselves for some reason, and then that's going to lead them to success. Like, your body can only go through high stress so much before something goes. And usually it goes in the opposite direction of how you want it to go. I find that people feel like they need to go to extremes to improve their health, but really what we need is just the right dose, right? Like, if you were getting sick, people start like hyperdosing on certain vitamins in hopes that it's actually going to improve their symptoms, but really you should be probably taking that amount of whatever vitamin before you got sick to prevent the sickness. You know, like, people just jump to these extreme measures because they think it's going to happen faster. But you can't change the rate of your biology. You can't change the rate of how your cells turn over. You can't change the rate of how fast your tendons regrow when you tear them apart. Like, you can try to find these little biohacks online, but our bodies are way smarter than you. Like, there's no hack to health. The hack is consistency long term. Having a healthy body is as equivalent as you trying to get rich. You can get there for sure, but it's going to take time. You know, yeah, there's some people out there who play the lottery and they get rich. Awesome. There's some people in the fitness industry where they look at a dumbbell and they just gain 15 pounds of muscle and they're just lean. Those are called the outliers. But I would say 99.9%, which we fall into that category, we are not those outliers. We're everyday folk that need to put in the time to actually see success. So once we, again, change our mindset of what we actually need and focus on attainable and sustainable goals, you are going to achieve every single goal you can think of. Aesthetically, weight loss, performance, feeling good, longevity. We just have to change our mindset. I feel like Instagram and all social media platforms out there post way too many unrealistic things of them training, because let's be real, when we post stuff on social media, it's the best stuff. It's never the stuff that show us struggling. I would love to see more fitness people on social media posting them failing. Like, show me you trying to do an exercise that you're terrible at. Show me how you were stressed out one day and could not adhere to your meal plan. Show me the struggle of trying to fit everything in your life that you need to do. This is the stuff that people don't post. They go, okay, do I have perfect lighting? Do I have a cute outfit on to show off this and this and this thing? So then when I post it on social media, I get a lot of likes. You know what I mean? I'm going to end it there. I feel like it was a good place to end it. Hopefully that this episode gave you some clarity, that you don't have to go 100% all the time. Showing up for yourself is just enough to get you to your goals. So thank you for listening and watching. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so right now. And add me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn and Threads and all those other social media things that we all have to manage to do anything in our lives nowadays. Geez, I can't speak. That's it for me. Till next time, you guys.